Good morning, everybody, and welcome to today's show of Derek Invests. I'm your host, Derek Miller, and what we are going to talk about today is a couple of questions I got yesterday. One question that definitely bears some answering is what is the timeline on my forecast? Because I made a forecast yesterday. I made two forecasts yesterday, and one needed a bit more explaining, I suppose, and the other one was designed to be short term, which I believe is the way that it read, but the other was not. And I do that over and over. So I want to talk about what are my time frames for forecasting when I throw my forecasts out. Second, what's going on with the Fed? Let's see if there's any stock market setups to drag us through this next month. So the goal of this conversation today over those indexes is really what's going to happen over the next month or two. Let's talk a little bit about artificial intelligence. It is a word now that really you simply need to apply it to your business, and your business is getting some pretty substantial stock growth. So, has this artificial idea been hyped up too much? And on that, in that same kind of ethos, I want to talk about why artificial intelligence and blockchain has been created, what it's really meant to serve, and then does it really cost human jobs? Is there a benefit to this that outweighs the potential downsides? Okay, does the upside outweigh the downside? So I want to talk a little bit about that because I had somebody reach out to me yesterday, and for the first time, someone actually reached out to me after my live because they weren't feeling so great upstairs, and they had a conversation with me and how they thought things were unfair, and the fact that isn't discussed enough, and the idea that you pull yourself up by your bootstraps and that your life is a consequence of your decisions. So I want to talk about that a little bit, and believe it or not, that ties in to the artificial intelligence, the blockchain, and the crypto ideology, at least some of it. So I'm going to discuss that openly, and you may or may not agree with what I have to say, but I'm going to say it anyway because I can say what I want. It's my show. Uh, and of course, anybody can rebut me because that's the beauty of having these conversations, is that someone can have a differing opinion. And if you do have a differing opinion and you want to talk about it on this show, you reach out and we will absolutely do that. But for now, let's start with the Fed rate decision. So we had some CPI data come in this morning that was interesting. I don't find any of the data interesting. If you want to know the truth, I don't really care what the numbers are. The fact of the matter is the numbers don't represent what's going on right now. There's struggles in the labor market. They're not even honest about what the labor market is. They tell you that there's all these jobs everywhere and that you can get hired. People are lazy. They don't want to work. I don't find that to be true. I know many people that have tried to get jobs at a Starbucks, at a well, I'm out on the West Coast, so it's Ralph's and Albertsons and Vaughn's, and those are our grocery stores. I know people that have gone in there and they can't even get hired. So I'm not sure what they're talking about in most of this data. So that's me. That's my viewpoint. You could argue that all day long if you want to. Feel free. I don't see any decline in inflation. Oh, inflation's down year over year. Yeah, well, inflation spiked in a given year. They're trying to claim it was 8 or 9%. My ass. Somebody show me the data. The biggest bills a human has in his life are his energy costs, his housing costs, and the cost of his vehicle, and the cost of his gas to get. And that kind of goes in with energy, but we can count that in for transportation costs. Okay, we don't. And food. Food is not included in CPI. Oil is not included in CPI. All right, listen, the reality of the situation is this, folks. Inflation hasn't gone down at all. I don't feel it. I don't feel it one bit. I don't, and I know you don't either. Unless you're in some place like Austin, Texas, where the cost of a home went up 400% in a matter of 6 years, uh, even your housing hasn't cooled. So shove those numbers where the sun don't shine, as far as I'm concerned. If that offends anyone, I apologize. I'm not trying to offend anyone, but I'm telling you those numbers are BS. I don't like cursing because I like everybody to be able to watch this show. But let me tell you something. And also, it's a little bit crude. I mean, I curse in my day-to-day life, believe me, plenty. But I don't do that kind of stuff in a professional atmosphere. It first off, it's a turn off because it's just I don't know. I'm not getting into all that. Anyway, point being, I don't care about those numbers one bit. To me, inflation is through the roof. It's a nightmare. It's remained a nightmare. It became a nightmare the minute they pushed 50% more currency into circulation in this country so that a bunch of guys at the top could create a $1.5 trillion relief fund that relieves no one except for corporate America. So, and then how they trickle down that money into the politicians and whomever they see fit. So I don't forget your data. So what we're going to do is we're going to look at the important stuff. We're going to go ahead and take a look and see if there's any setup in the indexes, right? Is there a setup in the NASDAQ, in the Dow, in the S&P, in the small and mid cap Russell? Do we see any setups there that will indicate to us what the market is going to do here in the next couple of months? Because that data, stick it. I don't even care what it says. Up 3.3% year over year, minus everything that affects your life, people. So yeah. Hey, but inflation is only rising this much. I mean, it went up 40% in 2 years. We called it 9% because energy doesn't count and food doesn't count and gas doesn't count. That's and then after it goes up 35%. Well, it only went up 3% last year. Well, that's 38% in 3 years. That's reality. Now, that has nothing to do with the stock market anyway. The stock market is a forecasting mechanism. The stock market is rising based on what we see coming in the next 6 to 18 months. So why do we even talk about that useless propaganda data? I don't know. If someone has a differing opinion there, I would absolutely love to hear it. I mean that. Change my mind. I would love it if someone could change my mind about this. Thus far, I've heard not a single argument ever that changes my opinion on what I just said to you. And I've had that opinion for 25 years. This isn't new based on 2020. My opinion started in 2009 when what was that relief fund? What was that bailout fund? $787 billion. When I saw that, I was only 5-6 years into the financial business, and I knew what it was right away. For all of you that don't know what that $787 billion was about that we gave out in 2009, the CEOs of every major bank that caused that entire crisis got the biggest bonuses in history because of that bailout fund back then. What do you think the 1.5 trillion did? Kept up with inflation. They dished out some money to their friends again. That's all that was. So we're gonna check out setups. I don't want to go on and on. I tend to do that. And honestly, it's not meant to be negative. It's meant to be informative. I just want you to realize what goes on. It's just money laundering from the top. I mean, that's what it is. And you know, the funny thing is, we can all say that that's bad because in our eyes, from my viewpoint, from my keyhole of the world, that is bad. But there could be a much bigger picture there that I don't understand. I always acknowledge that, folks. I want you to realize something. Anything I talk about here, I always acknowledge that I can be 100% wrong. I always acknowledge that I don't have the information from the top. I am a little guy, and I am truly a little guy. I don't know this stuff. Are those funds necessary? Is that relief fund necessary? Maybe. I mean, maybe it keeps the world going round. Just always remember that too, because when you start getting negative on this stuff and it starts being like, these sons of rah, 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 you're not paying attention to your own life. You're not living your own life. But for me to tell you to care what fake inflation data is, I can't do that. I mean, I won't do that. I absolutely will not. And if somebody can prove me wrong that that's not fake inflation and data, I would love to be proven wrong, because believe me, all I ever want to do is understand. I just want to know. And I want others to know. So I share what I know, and maybe that raises some questions and someone else will figure something out. I mean, that's my goal here. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to do the setup. I do want to talk about timeline for my forecast. First off, everybody, if you are not one of my students and you are trying to use the information I'm putting out to place trades, you are making a giant mistake. And the reason I say if you're not one of my students, because if you are one of my students, you've done enough one-on-ones with me that you have a structured, disciplined investment plan focused on risk management, cash management, and investment management, and you understand timelines. So when you see a weekly chart, you go, oh, we're looking at the next couple years. When you see a daily chart, you go, oh, we're looking at the next year. When you see a 4-hour chart, you go, oh, we're looking at the next 6 months. A 1-hour chart, oh, we're looking at the next couple months. So, folks, listen, do not try to place trades based on what I'm showing you. What I'm trying to show you is the methodology behind what I do. And let me tell you something, it works over and over and over and over. But someone asked me about the Oracle. I put up an Oracle um, uh, forecast yesterday saying, hey, regardless of earnings, Oracle's aimed here. And it was down. I don't remember the price. I think 100 maybe. I mean, I could be way off because I could be thinking of the wrong. I did like 6 or 7 positions yesterday for earnings this week. Someone reached out and go, oh, you blew that one. And I go, well, no, I don't mean that they're gonna sink it down to 100 based on these earnings. I said that's a 4-hour chart. You're looking out, months. You could be looking out to the end of the year on that one, right? It's June already. You can be looking out to the end of the year. And then I realized, oh gosh, I have to be more careful with my words. I have to be more careful about how I make these predictions. So I went in, and for a couple of the others, I went in and made adjustments. Thank God before earnings came out, so that people, at least you could have an understanding. So if someone out there is actually looking at this, like, oh yeah, he's right. He gets the indexes correct, and then his last 7 stocks are correct. Like I did something on the mid cap. So there's some companies being added and removed from mid cap, or added and removed from the S&P 500, because those are being rebalanced on June 24th of this month. And what I'm talking about is I'm talking about those companies, is where their price is heading. But those timelines are based on a system. And if you are not familiar with the system, then you don't know how far out I'm looking. Because if you understand me and my system, I take taxes into account. If you're not trading your short-term trading through an IRA or a Roth IRA or something that's tax deferred, there's already a huge mistake, right? And that's all of your short-term trading. Your long-term trading is probably in your individual account, your overflow account. Or some people even use their 401k because they don't want to make a bunch of turns. They simply want to avoid the large bear markets, right? And for some people, they don't even do short-term trading whatsoever. So in their IRA, maybe their short-term trading for them is like 3-month outlooks. See, for everybody, it's completely different. Now, if you want to know what's going to happen on earnings day, I can do that. And that's why I went in and made some adjustments, changed some verbiage for people so they could see what I actually thought. But as far as my forecasts go, folks, if you're not a student, if you're not working directly with me, and you're not asking me any questions, and you think that this is trading advice, you've gotten it all wrong, okay? What I'm trying to show you is how and why price moves. I'm trying to show you the methodology through different positions. Now, if you go back to what I did last week, where I was talking about gold, oil, interest rates, and the indexes, I was obviously talking about a macro shift. So if you're looking out 12 to 18 months and you're someone doing that, you go, oh, I see, that makes sense. Well, that's different, okay? So when it comes to my forecast, don't ask me. Reach out. I am not a salesman. I am not here to figure out a way to get you into my program. That is completely up to you, right? I provide information. If you're interested, you reach out. If you're not, that's fine too. Don't. For any of you that would like to reach out and do have those questions, there's some of my contact information there. That's my Twitter handle. That is my LinkedIn. You can see I've been doing this and putting stuff like this up for the last, feels like almost a decade now, but I'll bet you it's probably about 8 years I've been online doing stuff like this. Getting better and better and better. I mean, just yesterday I realized, whoa, I have to be careful when I put this stuff out, that I either A, put a timeline, or B, some sort of like warning that, look, this isn't, if you're not a student, this is meant to show you how you look at trading activity, how you look at how that affects the emotions of retail, how that is being used by big money, institutional money, more knowledgeable money to manipulate retail and what that does to price. Like, I'm trying to show you something that will work over and over and over again, whether you're in commodities, whether you're in stocks, whether you're in indexes, industries, sectors, currencies, pips, you're in futures, points, doesn't matter, right? This stuff transcends that. This is the way markets move. So there's my contact information. Great. Uh, let's go ahead and get this back up. So just after, I want to talk a little bit about AI. Then I'm going to go through some setups for some indexes for you. We'll pull it up and we'll kind of evaluate where we think indexes are going right now. And then finally, I want to talk about the creation and why artificial intelligence has been created, what that has to do with blockchain and crypto, why some people believe in it so much, and what that has to do with the conversation about mental health that I had yesterday with a young man that just really felt that things aren't fair, that life is not just a consequence of your decisions, and that this idea that things are going to be fixed by technology is false. And what I want to do is I want to show you why some of that technology has been created, how it can help you, and how it can benefit you. And then we will talk about the downsides too. There are always, no matter how smart you are, folks, I don't care who you are in this world, I don't care what position you hold, there are unintended consequences to your thoughts of doing right. You believe you're doing something right, you believe you're doing something good, but don't you ever think that there are not going to be unintended consequences, and those consequences are going to hurt certain people. You have to be careful of what you advise others to do. You have to be careful of what you implement, and you certainly have to be careful of what you try to force down the throats of others, because believe you me, you are not right. There will be those that you will dramatically hurt. You will affect their lives in ways that you never intended and that you never thought could happen, but it will happen. It's happened time and time again throughout history. So I want to talk about that. So first, let's talk about artificial intelligence. An amazing conversation. It was actually last week with someone who started off in solar, and then he tried to get into the what do they try to call the cannabis. He tried to get into the cannabis world, and the solar world apparently treated him really well. The cannabis world, eek, there was a lot more regulation costs. I guess things kind of got him. And now he's in the AI space, and he works with small and medium-sized businesses, people like myself, or people bigger than myself, much bigger than myself, some of them. I don't even know that I qualify as a small or medium-sized business at this point. You have to have revenue, right? Is that part of it? You need revenue? I'm kidding. So anyway, we were talking about it, and the one thing that goes with this giant corporate structure that we live under now is wrong and needs dismantled. Now, you can't just dismantle things, folks, right? You build life, your life, the life of this country, the life of the world, the earth. We are built on a house of cards. We stack, we stack, we stack, we stack, we stack, and it becomes more and more fragile. And if you just wipe out the bottom layer of that stack, you wipe out everything that's on top of it. Right. So just imagine a house of cards and put it up 4 feet. Now go ahead, take your hand and wipe out that bottom layer. And what happens to everything? It all collapses. That's why we can't just tumble corporate America. And believe me, I wish we could. I wish they control the politicians. They control all the money. They control all the policy. Once you control the policy and the politicians, you control everything else. So we don't have to go down that road. Right? They somehow corporate America has got corporations defined as human beings, as people. But here's the kicker: only when it suits them. They're people when they want to give money to politicians to pay them off. They're people when they want to fund giant lobbyist groups. But they're not people when it comes to everything else. When it comes to taxes, they're not people. We get special tax status. We're a company. We're a corporation. Hey, we need help. We're special. Look what we give to the economy. We're not people. Hey, here's $1 billion for the next president. Well, we're a person. We can give what we want. It's the most ridiculous hypocrisy. It's the biggest, largest, hypocritical piece of structure that exists. It's unbelievable. Makes my blood boil, but we still can't just topple it. Not unless you want to go out there and knife fight for dinner tomorrow. So what we have to do is we have to figure out a way to recreate that small business, medium-sized business capability. Right now, trying to create a small and a mid-sized business when you have this towering, think of a jungle with giant trees that operate as an umbrella. Everything under them is dead. Okay. Your grass can't even grow there. Why can't? You know what does grow there? Moss and filth and disgust and like the nastiest stuff in the world, and why molds and mushrooms and snakes and centipedes, giant spiders, and that's what grows there. Why? Because those are the only things that can survive. The grime, the dirt, the grunge. Why? Because they're defying the entire natural order of things. And they're taking huge risks in doing it, right? Like if you think that it's easy to be mold and scum and all this filthy stuff, it's not. Its life is awful. Read about it. Go look it up. It's a nightmare when you're at the bottom of underneath a giant canopy like that where nothing fresh can grow and nothing green can grow. Well, that's us right now, right? And that's why there's so much that's why you've seen an increase in things like OnlyFans. That's why you've seen an increase in drug use. It's why we have the largest opiate epidemic with a drug, by the way, that just wipes you out. Why do you think you're seeing the increase in all the mold, the scum, the disgusting? Because the canopy is just the grass can't grow. And the point of AI and blockchain to some degree, not to some degree, to a complete degree, is the idea of bringing these small businesses back. It's trying to give the guy he can't afford these giant teams, and he needs something that is cost effective, that he can go out there. Now he is the hardest job in the world, mind you, because he's going to probably have to work a regular job just to try to get this small business off the ground, which in effect will make the small business fail anyway. Because when you have to be sidetracked like that, let me tell you something, to get a business going, you need 100% of you 100% of the time, all day, every day. If you think you're going to do some part-time small business, that idea is a farce. That's ridiculous. It's impossible. Your brain has to be 100%. I mean, you don't sleep much as a small business owner, not because you're stressed, because you're just going, okay, how do I maximize this? How do I optimize that? What do I do here? What do I do there? If you have to go to a job and have some guy kick you around all day, good luck. Good luck. I know everybody's going to pitch you that it's possible, and we're going to call that a side gig at the moment, which really is a second job. And trust me when I tell you that a second job you should get paid for. If you're trying to build some business as a second job, you are most likely wasting your time. You're better off delivering pizza for a wage, in my opinion. Now, so we're talking about AI. I met that guy last week that is now in the AI space, and here's how he explained it to me, and this was genius. So that's my opinion. You don't agree with it? Great. Let's talk about it. Change my mind. All I ever try to do in investments is change my own mind when I evaluate. Change my mind. I want you to. I want to see it differently. So back to AI. Why is he doing small and medium-sized businesses? Well, because the accounting and the payroll, if you have several businesses or you're a franchisee owner, you're hiring full-time employees to do this job that AI now has the capability to do very, very quickly and inexpensively, right? What's going to cost you is like the consultant fee. So when someone has to come in and figure out, okay, where are we missing here? Where are we misfiring? The consultant fee can be quite expensive. However, just remember that you can pay for fees in a lot of other ways than money. And that's the beauty of owning a small business is if somebody comes in and this person, if they're financially stable, you can say to them, hey, if you straighten this out for me, if you fix this, and you have a meaningful company that has a meaningful mission and vision, and this person believes in you, you can say, I'll give you 5% of my business. Give you 1% of my business, 2% of my business, 3% of my business, whatever it is. And so now you have that giant consultant fee covered, and you can pay the $250 a month. You can handle that. And guess what? Now you're saving $36,000, $40,000, $50,000, whatever you were paying that person to run this payroll, to run all this stuff, whatever you were paying that person, you now have that taken care of. My brother actually works at a company that works in payroll, and I know they automate a lot, and I know they help a lot. Now, they have some revenue standards, and they have some invoice standards. I believe their invoice standard is you should be doing 30 invoices a month and $1 million in revenue, and it's called Bill, B-I-L-L, Bill.com is who they are. Here, let me my brother works here. I have no problem giving them a shout out, and I'll probably tag them too. Bill, formerly Bill.com. There they are right there, Bill.com under my information, right? Bill, formerly Bill.com. I know they're doing that. I know someone else. He comes in and he does all the consulting. And the reason I bring that up is this isn't going to cost humans jobs, right? If you think there's a human on this planet that loves sorting and going through bank statements each day on digital bank statements, digital transactions every day, classifying those transactions and then uploading them instead of using his brain. Someone like this understands transactions, what they do, what they're for, how they're beneficial, how they're not beneficial. He or she could use their mind much better and not have a job that they hate and want to shoot themselves every day. So what I'm saying to you is, and then you have small businesses. So we have a way to now pay something that used to cost $50,000 a year can now cost us $250, $300 a month, or whatever the fee is, right? The gentleman I spoke with last week, that was the case with him. He was doing this software at $250, $300 a month. By the way, I'm not sure what Bill charges. I know they have some different standards. I believe they're for somebody a little bigger. I'm not sure what that equates to, okay? But this AI can transcend those things. And then along a bunch of other processes that you don't want to do, because any entrepreneur out there that's honest with you, what he loves doing, he's going to do a ton of. What he hates doing, he's either going to farm out to someone else that pretty much he'll view as never doing as good as he could do with it, and he's going to torture that person, or B, he's going to ignore it. Now, how do I know that? Well, let me tell you. I know that because I've been an entrepreneur for 20 years, and that's exactly what you do. And it's a shame, but it's the truth. Also, if you can lower those costs, you could actually give people a chance to start small and mid-sized businesses. People would have a chance. They wouldn't need they wouldn't be their side gig. Maybe it'd be their gig. Maybe they could just save up to give it a 2-year run. See what they got. Give them a chance. You want to get rid of this corporate umbrella that's drowning us all in drug overdoses and OnlyFans? That's what AI and blockchain and crypto can do for us. Now, here real quickly, I'm going to jump over. We're going to do some analysis of these markets. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the NASDAQ, the Dow, the S&P, and the Russell 2000, which is your small and your big caps. We're going to see if there's a setup for this Fed rate decision. I think the Fed rate decision, by the way, is probably they've been saying we're going to ease rates. There was talk before of the deterioration of the labor market. I think a lot of people are hoping we get a cut before December. I think the cut comes in December, but in just 2 minutes, we're going to get to that. So just hang in there. If you're not interested in this artificial intelligence, blockchain, and crypto conversation, hang in there. I'm going to go over and do some analysis of these markets for you in a second here. Give me 3 more minutes. I want to talk about the mental health conversation I had yesterday, and we need to be honest about this because we just talked about how AI and blockchain and crypto are developed to get some small businesses off the ground, and maybe in some way, without wiping out the house of cards, we can restructure this house of cards into a fair, as much as a human can make the playing field fair, which brings me to my conversation yesterday about mental health. He said that it's not fair, that life isn't all consequences of your decisions. And, I want to tell you something. That's right. And if that upsets you that's right, hear me out for 1 second. Just give me 1 second. In fact, I'll tell you what, you set your timer right now at 2 minutes. If I haven't at least made you look through a different keyhole than you've been looking, if you think life is fair and that everything is a result of the decisions you've made, count your timer right now, 2 minutes. Here we go. Bing, go. Okay, we're born. We're all a Ferrari. Every one of us is born a Ferrari. We're this amazing machine with this amazing brain, this amazing engine, all this amazing stuff, right? So here we go. 2 buyers come in. One buyer buys this Ferrari. One buyer buys this Ferrari. Buyer number 1 takes that Ferrari home. He lives in the desert. He spends half his time in the desert. He spends the other half his time in a cold, blistering mountain. He does not garage that car. He does not cover that car. He doesn't wash cars, doesn't believe in it. He loves to rev that engine. He fires it through the turns, dings it off of stop signs here and there, and he runs hard, right? And now that's one Ferrari, born of perfection. Another Ferrari, born of perfection. Guy gets his car. It's only been driven 3,000 miles in 18 years. This guy's been driven 150,000 miles in his 18 years. His is garage kept. He washes it once a week. He starts it up once a week to keep it healthy, takes it in for its oil changes, takes it in for transmission flushes, this car is his baby. They both hit 18 years old. This car has a chance to go. This car has a chance to go. They're going to go hit the track. Which one wins? Perfect. This guy is the poor person born in India, a trailer park in the U.S., like a poor area in India, a poor trailer park in the U.S., a poor Russian, poor Chinese, whoever this is a Ferrari. This is a Ferrari, and this is a Ferrari. This Ferrari, does he have a better chance by the time they hit 40 years old, and this Ferrari is at 280,000 miles, and this Ferrari is now at 32,000 miles? You think they have the same energy levels? You think they have the same perspective? You think they have the same ability? You think they have the same mindset? You think they should have the same mindset? Okay, you're a dizzy idiot if you can't see what I just said there. That was the kid's point. The kid has a point, and he's right, okay? You're right that life should be fair. That's what blockchain intends to do. Lock you into a chain where you are held responsible for the decisions you make. Here's the problem with that blockchain. Here's the problem with blockchain. As much as it's going to help, an unintended consequences, it victimizes this guy even more. And it does. It's true. You're going to hold him responsible, this guy and this guy, because what has to change, folks, sadly, is human nature, and no one can do that. Human nature, as we see it right now, is I do what's best for me, you do what's best for you. I'm not telling you should force change upon someone. You have to force someone to do what might not exactly be perfect for him, but might help him significantly. You can't make anyone do that. Socialism is garbage. Communism is garbage. Rot with the same problems that true capitalism is wrought with, right? Well, true capitalism, actually, we wouldn't even have this corporate umbrella. So true capitalism is probably your realistic answer. The only problem there would be this Ferrari is not a Ferrari. It's a human being. And can you imagine what that human being has been through and treated like compared to this person? And we can't change the worldview of this person. But if this person's a fighter, and he fights and fights and fights, and maybe at 35 years old, he's kept up with this person. But this person can easily take advantage of this person. So ultimately, the only real cure is to make this person realize that this person didn't have the same start, isn't of the same abilities, and you need to be a little more generous with them. Tying them into some blockchain is not going to be the answer, because you're going to hold them responsible for moves they have to make that you don't. This person over here has to balance this bill, balance that bill, pay this, pay that. If you're holding him responsible for every single bill on the exact due dates and all of that, this person will never make it. He doesn't have the opportunities you have. Do you understand? You think he doesn't want to pay his bills? You're crazy. It drives him insane. But you don't understand that. You've never had that problem, and no one is telling you that what you've done is wrong and what he's done is right. You're both in this same ethos, and you simply have to work together. You have to be a little more sympathetic. This guy's going to screw up, and you're going to help him, and he's not going to trust you. You're going to do things for him that he's not going to realize you've done for him, because what you know is part of the process. Part of the process of true love is pain and hurts, because it designs discipline, designs structure. What I teach in investing, discipline and structure. Without it, you have nothing. I'm not going to go on and on about it. I that probably was more than 60 seconds, hopefully not too much more. So the positives of this new ethos that is trying to be generated is it's going to potentially topple this disgusting umbrella we've created by no one's fault. No one's to blame. No one's to blame. Look, it's where we were. It's where we're at. Like, it's nobody's fault. You're following the rules of the game that are in place, but now the rules have gotten so outlandish and ridiculous. We got to change things up. That's the point of blockchain. That's the point of artificial intelligence, everybody. So you guys, if you're living in the middle and you feel you're taken advantage of and you're against these things, I'm here to tell you got to shift your opinion. But I'm also here to tell you guys at the top that are creating all of this stuff, you need to realize you may have had a better start, and I think you do realize it. But the unintended consequence is, remember what we talked about, the mold, the scum, the snakes, the spiders. They're going to come here too. They're going to attack it. They're already doing it in the crypto market. They found a playground that they can go over and just steal, and they're doing it. I mean, I watch it every day, and it's hard. It's a balancing act, because it's like you need regulations, and you need them to be at a federal level so you can control the scum that is always going to look to take advantage of others. But then if you overregulate, you end up in the same system we have now. It's push and pull, everybody. But I assure you that it's a system trying, okay? A lot of people come down hard on the state in which I live, of California, but we're trying here. Hey, we try new things. Go, like, no offense here, everybody. Go ahead, go over to Florida. Have fun there. Because unless you're born with this car that was garage kept and treated like a baby, that isn't a fun life over there. Because they don't care about this guy. It's not that they don't care. Let me rephrase. It's not they don't care. It's just that the structure, that is the design, the implementation, they're saying, hey, like, we offer free college, 75% off college. They're approaching different areas, but I have to tell you, college doesn't do anything for this car that's been run hard and fucking put away wet. Doesn't do anything for them. You gotta restructure the system, and they're still trying to work within this system that needs restructured to function. So it's not they don't try over there. I'm not judging DeSantis or anything going on over there, and I have friends in Florida that I love, but the fact of the matter is you're trying to work within a very, very broken system, and it won't work. And just to add a little flavor to this, the idea that you pull yourself up by your bootstraps and the decisions you've made govern your life. There are studies out there that say as high as 88% of the decisions we made are made by our subconscious, not our conscious. So the design, how you're treated up until about 8 years old, actually will govern about 88% of your decisions. How can they know that? It's real simple. They ask you questions. They hook your brain up to a thing that shows electrical charges. If it fires in the back first, it's your subconscious. Fires in the front first, it's your conscious. So when they ask you a question and you answer, they just simply look at what fired first. Is that as technical as it needs to be? Maybe not. Is it 88%? Maybe not. What if it's 50%? What if it's 40%? What if it's 60%? That's a lot of decisions that you're not making, my friend. So don't give yourself too much credit, and don't be too hard on yourself. I'll tell you what, I'm going to stop now because I'm already at 40 minutes. I am going to go through and do a technical analysis of the NASDAQ, the S&P, the small caps, and the Dow tomorrow. We're going to do a technical analysis tomorrow. Let's look for that Fed rate decision. But let me tell you something, folks. Fed rate decisions do not ultimately alter the trend of a market, and the trend is up. Could you get blips to the downside? Certainly. Have I even been looking for blips to the downside? Absolutely. Do we have a very low volume trading activity market right now? Even with Goldman Sachs saying we have 5.5 billion in corporate buybacks occurring on a daily basis? Yes, we do. Very low volume. Does that indicate that we're looking for a correction in this market? Probably a return to the previous highs. Yes, in fact, it does. We will do a technical breakdown tomorrow. And for your mental health, and hey, listen, I am dead serious about anybody reaching out to me. I want you to reach out. I had the first person do it yesterday. And if you're having a problem and you need someone to talk to, reach out to me. Shout out to Bill, formerly Bill.com. You know, my brother works for you. You seem like a good company. I read a little bit about you today. I got hit up on LinkedIn. I'm looking for sponsorships, by the way. And I'm always looking for some work, contract work, if it's available, or work. Who the heck knows, right? I leave all possibilities out there. So anyway, if you're looking for something, maybe give them a call. I'm going to give a shout out to the gentleman I spoke with last week who was involved in the solar, cannabis, and now AI space, and ask if he'd like a shout out on the show. But I don't want to mention his company. I know he's still doing some things. So anyway, shout out to Bill. Shout out to Tradeer once again. Where are you guys? Let me give a shout out to Tradeer, and I'll tell you why. They're offering up to 1,000 contracts at $10 at Tradeer. It's a brokerage firm. You can get through them directly through. They're directly attached to TradingView, which is the software I happen to use. I know Ninja Trader's great software as well. I'm going to start branching out and using some different software. I'll introduce you to some new brokerages. I am, again, looking for sponsorships if anybody's interested right now, though. You know, this is for you guys. I have no attachment to Tradeer. I'm not being paid by them. I'm not saying I won't be. I'm just saying I'm not now. But you can't if you're involved in options like right now, for example. If you want to be involved in AI, just realize the only option strategy isn't to buy the highest strike price option to go up. You realize you could sell, right? You could sell options. You could sell some puts, right? You get some upside there as well, probably quite a bit cheaper. All right, everybody. Look, as always, shout out to TradingView. Let's give a shout out to Ninja Trader. I used it yesterday. I'm not that familiar, but let's give a shout out to Ninja Trader. I'm going to give a shout out to Tradier, and starting here in a couple days, I'll start pulling up some other brokerages, see what they got going on. They have a great special here, though, $10 up to 1,000 contracts. Shout out to Bill, formerly Bill.com. I know they're doing a lot with the payment. My brother happens to work there. Shout out to my brother Nick. If you're watching. Anyway, as always, everybody, you can't do anything good out there if you're not good up here. So if you're having a tough day, make sure you get out in the sun. Go do something and fake it till you make it, folks. Throw that smile on. Hey, the world's getting better. Whatever problems you have today, you are going to solve. I promise you. And as difficult as they seem, you're going to come up with answers. I know you will. You know how I know you will? Because till now, you haven't failed. How haven't you failed? Because you're still here. All right, you're still here. And remember, every day above ground is a good day. Thank you so much for joining me. Tomorrow, look out for the technical breakdown of the indices. I may even do them this afternoon. I'm not sure. I may have a busy afternoon in front of me. I may have nothing. Life of an entrepreneur, folks. We'll talk to you soon.